But understand that at this point, I still can't answer questions about the facts surrounding the investigation.
Really all everyone wanted throughout was justice for Shanann and Bella and Celeste. We're certainly pleased this seems to be the outcome.
I think all of those who were involved never truly believed that he would give us an accurate statement. What I can tell you most affirmatively today by what happened in court is the spotlight that he tried to shine on Shanann falsely, incorrectly, and frankly a flat-out lie is the spotlight that he tried to shine on Shanann falsely, incorrectly, and frankly a flat-out lie is incorrect.
I didn't know what else to do.
And he's so disgusting. I'm so ashamed of him. Why? Oh, why? How? I don't even understand how you could bring yourself to do that. Somebody who's like that.
It was a shocking deal news of the week. Occidental increasing its bid for Anadarko to $76 a share.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science. This is part 2 on the exact moment Chris Watts lost everything, and this is dealing with breakthrough number 2. Without further ado, let's get into it. The second breakthrough starts happening at about 16:34 or 4:34 p.m., about 24 minutes after the first breakthrough. It involves Watts talking to his father, but it's not just that. First of all, Watts was so worn down by the interrogation, he was close to saying, "Please stop." In fact, he actually did say that. We see that the first half hour of that 6th hour was a blistering assault actually on him. But when both agents ratcheted the interrogation up a gear, within half an hour Watts is very worn down, very worn out, and he was looking for some kind of exit, some kind of relief. Instead of giving him that, the interrogators skillfully offered Watts the opportunity to talk to his father as an exit. Even after this idea was mentioned, the interrogator spoke to Watts for a further approximately 10 minutes, holding the offer of talking to his dad, a friendly face, as a kind of psychological carrot. So although this offer was dangled, they then continued questioning him for a number of additional minutes, and while this happened, there was continued reinforcement, including from Agent Lee, who said to Watts, if you tell him what happened, he will still continue loving you. So in other words, the interrogators are quite cleverly minimizing, they're sort of conveying to Watts the impression that they know he's done something, but it's okay. They're trying to create a safe space for him in a way. And but they're also trying to frame the conversation that he's going to have with his father in a certain way. So he's allowed to speak to his father, but conditionally. Now, using this whole strategy, holding out this psychological carrot, sounds very simple, doesn't it? But the strategy was an enormous risk. They'd been piling on the pressure for hours, and they'd just gotten the intel on Nicole Kessinger, and they'd made one breakthrough, and they didn't want to squander it. So if they stepped out of the room, they ran the risk of Watts catching a breather, of allowing the pressure to dissipate, of Watts getting a second wind, even if only psychologically, and worse, he may, when they step back into the room, he may have had a change of heart, a change of mind, and he might tell them that he was shutting down or putting a stop to the interrogation. It had already gone on for 5.5 hours just that day, and it would have been quite reasonable for him to say, listen guys, let's continue this another time or whatever. But there was also an arguably even bigger risk that his father, Ronnie, might talk some sense into his son. And as we're about to see, that's exactly what happened.
What happened that night with her?
As far as like after I talked to her,
With the girls?
like when we were having that conversation in bed there,
Mm-hmm.
like when I talked to her about the separation and the house, and she asked me about the affair, and
Okay.
that's how that conversation went.
Okay.
She was distraught. She had like mascara run down her face, all that. I mean, it was emotional.
Well, how about this? If we bring in your dad, will you promise me that you'll talk to him?
I'll talk to him.
Okay. Will you promise me that you'll tell him everything? Would it be easier if you told him and he told us?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know if that's going to be easy or not. I tend to think it's not. I think you're the type of guy that needs to take responsibility because you always have taken responsibility. You've always made the right choice. So I guess I'm just worried that if we bring your dad in here, that could distract you. What do you think?
Distract me from like talking to you.
Yeah.
I just need to talk to him.
Okay. All right. I know you'll do the right thing. I do. I don't know how long it's going to take. I think that you need to think a little bit more about them. Okay. I think that you need to think a little bit more about them. Okay.
And you need to realize that your dad is not going to stop loving you no matter what you tell him. You are his child, and he will not.
The second breakthrough has two layers, essentially. The first is Watts talking to his father, and the second, the real breakthrough, is that Watts elects to confess to his father right out the gate. So it's not just the case that Watts is left on his own and he then talks to his father. That's not the breakthrough. The breakthrough is the combination of him talking to his father, but doing it according to instruction, doing it according to what he's told. So just to illustrate what kind of psychological hold those agents had over him, they did such a great mind job on Watts that when they framed how that conversation was going to go, they explained to him that they needed him to talk to his father about what happened. They needed him to tell his father what happened. And then that's precisely what he did. He didn't have to. He could have made small talk with his father. He could have spoken about how things were standing. He could have spoke about his concerns. But in the end, what he did was precisely what he was told to do. It deals with
Hey Chris, we're going to let you have as much time you need, okay?
Okay. Can you leave us in there or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Polygraph. Failed it. Yeah, because there's too much emotions. So I mean, they're not
That one time, you were leaving the place and going to work, and she freaked out over the separation all the time.
I think it was, she laid back down, but that's when I went downstairs, but I heard like a little commotion upstairs, but I didn't think anything of it.
And then you went back upstairs and she was,
I could see like, she was on top of me.
choking her, or did she kill her?
They're blue.
Both of them.
Yeah.
She choked both of them to death.
I freaked out at the same thing. How was it?
So when you do all the bodies off or something?
I mean, I didn't know what else to do. I freaked out. I didn't know nothing else to do. I didn't know what to do.
So she killed both Sister and Bella, choked them to death. You lost it and choke her, or?
Not just, that's just rage. I hadn't.
A slight technique that we can use in true crime rocket science is we can apply the interrogation techniques of the FBI and the CBI, right? And we can look at the effectiveness of the interrogation and then compare it to the way Ronnie Watts interrogates his son. Now obviously it's not strictly speaking a father interrogating his son, it's a father talking to his son. But technically it is the father interrogating the son, because that's how the agents have set it up. So the son is set up, teed up, primed and ready to tell his father exactly what had happened, and his father has been set up to ask his son what happened. So it kind of is an interrogation. Be that as it may, when we look at the, let's call it interrogation in inverted commas, what we see is a totally different style. We see sometimes the father not even making eye contact. We see the same from his son. We see very little, or we hear very little talking between the two, but the substance of it is direct, meaningful, and important compared to the 5 hours preceding it. Ronnie's style of talking to his son is that he mumbles, that he speaks short sentences, and that he often repeats what his son says and then maintains a silence. So it's quite a reserved way of talking, quite a limited way of talking. Both speak in low tones, almost conspirationally, perhaps hoping that what they say won't be recorded. Ronnie, as I mentioned, is quiet much of the time, making short, simple, leading type statements, and often simply repeating what his son says, and then his son says some more. What the agents, to repeat what I said earlier, what the agents hadn't been able to achieve in over 5 hours, Watts' his father achieved in 5 minutes. Curiously, and this has been overlooked by many speculating over the case, when Watts tells his father, volunteers about the affair, his father isn't surprised. It's as if Ronnie already knew about it. Watts also tells his father, I told her about separating and everything about that. He's implying he told Shanann about the affair and that this is why Shanann freaked out. and then when she freaked out, he freaked out. This is quite important to stress because it was quite well known in the week that they were in North Carolina that they'd already been talking about separating. They were talking about separating prior to that. So the notion that if he brought up separating then, that she would freak out, that's not what would have freaked her out. An affair would have freaked her out. What's incredible about this moment, the second breakthrough, besides the contents of it, is that in effect what's defaulted from the enterprising Romeo, who was sort of striking out, trying to build a new life for himself, taking upon a new persona where he could talk to the media and he could talk to interrogators for hours and just talk and talk and talk. He defaulted from that Romeo, that person that was seeking a new life with Nicole Kessinger. He defaulted from that persona and that personality at this moment back to a zombie simpleton who did as he was told. He was used to taking orders, so was his father, and in this instance he did just that. He confessed to his father that all three of them, Shanann, Bella and Cece, were dead, and what's more, all three had been murdered. Temptation.